host. You're the co-host.
Yes, Andrew and I am the co-host, Andrew is the host. He has the record feature. It's easier for me to share. When I have the record feature, it messes up my sharing capability.
Okay, so is he also the call-in user too?
Yes, he's
Okay.
calling in on his phone.
I am, and Bob and Bill, Supervisor Felton, I'm just going to start recording right now.
Okay.
I'll trim that once we call it to order. So.
No problem.
Bill, do you have an agenda that you could send me?
Joe, are you on your computer right now through the township?
No.
So go to heartlandtwp.com.
Well, I can do that, but I don't want to. All right. I'll see what I can do. I'll figure it out.
If you go to agenda packet, it's right there for you. Go to agendas and meetings minutes.
Okay.
And then just go to today's date under the board, and it'll have an option for agenda to you.
Yeah, but I don't want to lose what I got. I don't want to lose my connection with you here.
Yep. So, Joe, there's really only 3 items we're going to be talking about, and Bob's going to put this up on the screen for us.
Okay.
Above and beyond just our regular like call the public and approve the agenda. We've got a speed limit on Blaine Road that we're going to be discussing tonight. And then we go into the manager's report. And then the final thing is tonight we're going to go over the revenue in the general fund for government funds, which are bonds and SADs.
Okay.
So I just sent you the agenda. Do you want the whole packet? I can send you the whole packet if you need it.
Oh, just the agenda is fine.
Okay, I just sent it to you.
Okay. Yep, got it.
Hi, Denise. Good evening. I haven't heard, or nobody has contacted me that said they are not going to be here this evening. I know Larry Shofu is in his office.
And for those of you that don't know, because you haven't met him, Michael Root is our Public Works Director. He's on there as well. So, probably an unfamiliar face to you, but you'll get to know him very well.
Hi, Kathy.
I'll be honest with you, one of these nice things about these virtual meetings is you can't see my bald spot. My kids keep watching the video and they're like, when they were back in the board meeting, they'd be like, Dad, where'd your hair go? It's gone in the video. It's shiny.
Hi, Larry.
Hello.
I just left a message with Matt. He did not pick up his phone just to see if he's going to be joining us or not. But he's got plenty of time for Matt. He still has 3 minutes. Hi, Matt.
Hello.
You can disregard my message. I just called you.
I just heard it. Mr. Manager, do you have a flag in your office we can all look at? Oh, super, Larry.
Supervisor Fountain has one behind him, as well as Clerk Tilton. So, pick whatever one you prefer. I don't have one in my office. Not yet.
I think Summer had, or was it Denise? Oh, Denise, you had one last meeting, I think.
I've got a couple small ones behind me. You can barely see.
Well, good evening. I'd like to call our meeting to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Have the clerk please call the roll.
I'm Larry Chopue. I am attending remotely from Heartland, Michigan. Supervisor Fountain.
I'm Bill Fountain, the supervisor. I am remote in Heartland, Michigan.
Treasurer Horning.
Treasurer Horning here in Portland Township.
Trustee Germain.
Yes, Trustee Germain, present, attending from Heartland Township.
Trustee McMullen.
Here, and I'm attending remotely from Heartland Township.
Thank you. Trustee O'Connell.
Denise O'Connell, trustee, Heartland Township, attending.
Trustee Petrucci.
I'm here and I'm joining remotely from Heartland, Michigan.
All present.
Thank you. Item number 4 is approval of our agenda.
So moved.
Or
And a motion by Treasurer Horny, second by Trustee Petrucci. Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Call to the public. Is Michael the only other individual that's on our meeting right now?
Yes, Michael is the only, and he is our public works director.
Okay. It looks like there's nobody at call to the public this evening. We'll move on to item number 6, which is approval of our consent agenda.
so move.
Support. Jermaine?
Motion by Trustee Petrucci, second by Trustee Germain. Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 7 is new business. And tonight we have a request from the Blaine Road, I think it's a homeowners association, correct, Bob? That's looking to lower the speed limit, or actually set a correct speed limit on a section or portion of Blaine Road. So I will turn this over to Manager West, and he can fill in the details, and then we can ask questions as we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Fountain. What we have tonight is kind of a unique circumstance. Blaine Road within Heartland Township has a current speed limit of 25 miles per hour that is posted on the sign. Unfortunately, it is unenforceable, and a speed study is set to be conducted this summer by Michigan State Police. They set all the speed limits within throughout the state of Michigan. However, there is an anomaly in the speed limit law that does permit the township to formally request a speed limit based on driveway or access, entrances, intersections of the road. Right now, the speed study is projected to put the Michigan State speed study is projected to place a 40 to 45 mile per hour speed limit along Blaine Road through the residential district. If this request is honored by the township, and it has been requested formally to the township by the Heartland Shores Homeowners Association, it would result in a lower speed limit of 35 miles per hour while still being enforceable. I do want to add the caveat again, this is a unique circumstance. This is not necessarily somebody can formally request to the township to have this speed limit changed. This is solely due to the fact that it is currently non-enforceable. There is not a traffic control order on record for that speed limit. The 25 mile per hour is incorrect and cannot, will not hold up in court at this time. So the residents have been proactive, understanding that the speed limit will increase. What they're trying to do is minimize the increase to as low as possible, which would result in the 35 mile per hour speed limit. Now, I do want to just add the additional information. With this request, this does not guarantee that the Michigan State Police will still not conduct a speed study. This is our effort to help the residents in this area get the speed limit reduced from what is projected to result from the 80th percentile speed study. So I'm recommending approval of this formal recommendation. It will go to the Livingston County Road Commission, who will then move it forward to the Michigan State Police with their support. So any questions? I covered that fairly quickly, but I wanted to open the floor up as well.
Any questions for Bob?
No, I think it's a good idea.
Yep. If there's no other comments, I'll entertain a motion.
I do have one question, Bill. I had to get off of mute. In the packet, it includes a letter that's dated January 19th. Has that been sent yet, or is it just for our review?
That is technically for your review. The letter from the township to the road commission has not been sent. I knew it was going to be presented at this meeting and the formal approval would be So in theory, if it's approved this evening, that letter would stand, and we'll send off tomorrow morning.
Are you okay with that, Bob or Matt? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to authorize the township manager and the township clerk to sign the formal request for a Blaine Road speed limit adjustment to the Livingston County Road Commission as presented.
I'll support it.
I had a motion by Clerk Schofield, second by Trustee Petrucci. Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposing? Motion carries. Thank you. We'll go to board reports, and we'll start with Trustee McMullen this evening.
So for the planning commission, there was a shared driveway that we voted on to approve.
Okay. Do you have any upcoming meetings? I know it's been kind of hard with I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I think there was a couple site plans, if I wasn't mistaken, that were maybe going to head your direction at the planning commission in the next couple of meetings.
Yeah, January 28th is our next meeting. And I don't remember exactly what they mentioned.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Trustee O'Connell.
I have no report this evening.
Thank you. Trustee Petrucci.
I have no report tonight.
Clerk Schofield.
No report.
Treasurer Horn.
I have nothing.
Trustee Germain.
No report.
Matt, just briefly, it sounds like you had another report on the sulfur issue. Has that been sent to the township and also forwarded to Milford?
Yes, it's the report is received from Eagle, and when they issue it, it's sent to Highland Township and me representing Heartland Township at the same time. And I'm pretty sure that with lightning speed, the township staff have already uploaded that to the website. So thank you, staff.
And Matt, are the results still good, in favor?
The results are what I would call neutral, perhaps. Of the, I think there were like 22 wells that were installed initially that had concentrations of sulfonane above the cleanup criteria that Eagle has established. There remains one well that is above the criteria, and they may end up starting the treatment system up to just target that one area. The treatment system has been off for the last year, and this is the only well that's shown any rebound.
Thank you for that update. Anything else this evening? I think we'll just go right into Bob's report this evening and not do a brief recess. Bob, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you. Just want to give you guys an update. Obviously, our board workshop is a moving target at this point in time. Today's target is March 5th, 2021. I would say pencil that in because there's a good chance you might erase that. So stay tuned. We'll see what the governor does on February 1st. That will certainly dictate where we're going to go. We kind of pushed it out a little bit further just in case there is another extension. That is with Dr. Lou Bender. Just want to kind of give you guys a heads up on that. Additionally, you'll notice in the operational report, we added a new feature, which was potential training opportunities. Now we list those currently through the MTA. We're also have some other opportunities on the horizon. Trustee Jermaine, I know you had reached out. We are going to follow up with dates and times. Some of these classes are offered multiple times throughout the year. So we will follow up with more details. What I wanted to do is just kind of put it in the operational report as a catalyst to kind of say, hey, we do have some training opportunities. If you're interested, reach out. We'll provide you with some more details. We'll facilitate getting you signed up and everything else. Moving on, the 2021 Livingston County Road Commission Pavement Preservation Program has been released. Heartland Township has applied for a project in which we would work collectively with the Livingston County Road Commission. We're again applying for this. It has not yet been awarded. They offer this cost sharing opportunity on an annual basis, and historically we've been very successful in working with them. So stay tuned for that. I'll let you know if our project we work it out with them as far as what they feel is best, and then ultimately it's a significant cost savings if we are awarded that to the residents. And then the final thing I wanted to just kind of give you guys an update on, hearing from contractors and our engineering consultants that the contractors for the 2021 construction season are already booking into the summer season. Rather than wait till April for the adoption of our budget, we may bring forward a couple projects that are kind of on the horizon to at least put them out on the street and get bids. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to award the contract, but we definitely want to get on the radar with our water main extension. Obviously, that project is well into the works. We could potentially put that out on the streets to get bids within the next 2 weeks. That would be out for about a month because that one's going to be require a lot of homework on the contractor side. But more importantly, the one that's kind of fallen, I don't want to say fall off radar, it's on our CIP, but back in 2020, we were looking to do the M59 sidewalk section. Right now, concrete contractors are booking into late June. If we wait till April, that project, even if we choose to move forward with it, we may not get on somebody's 2021 construction calendar. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to vet it with the admin committee, but most likely we're going to make a recommendation to put that project out on the street if that's the desire of the board to move forward with it. So stay tuned. There's no action required now. I just kind of want to give you a heads up as to why we may start bringing those projects a little sooner than later. So, any questions on any of that information?
Bob, I know we really haven't spoke a lot about capital improvements at this point. But perhaps if we had a list of what we've talked about and what these might look like, if we can get that into the hands of the board so we can start, having some discussions, number one, but I think we should really prioritize them. So if you have some estimated, costs for those and the things that we have in queue already, like the sidewalks already been engineered, I believe, and just some rough estimates of what those might look like. I think that if this is going to go on the fast track, the sooner we can all kind of get our heads around what those might look like, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'll send out a follow-up email to the board just on an individual, specifically referencing the CIP. The CIP in its entirety is in a draft form. Even when you adopt it, it doesn't mean that the projects are approved. It just means that that's our target when we're going to complete them. We would still bring all the projects back to the board on an individual basis for approval. So, yes, I will follow up. Thanks for that feedback.
Yeah, I think maybe a good example of that was last year when COVID hit, we had approved that sidewalk. And then I think we tabled it just because we were so unsure of what was going to happen. So that was a good point there. Thank you. Anything else for Bob this evening at this juncture? Okay, Bob, I think I'll have you move right into your second 9B, which is draft general government funds, revenues, and expenses.
Thank you. So in your packet, you'll see an itemized version of what's being presented this evening with footnotes. What I'm going to ask you to do is scoot down to the bottom 7 pages, which is the summary. Now I've taken that same summary and I've condensed it by eliminating a few of the prior years so it fits better on the screen, but I'm going to go ahead and share that right now and we can certainly go through it. All right, I trust you guys can hear me all right and you can see this. This is the draft budget report for what's known as the other governmental funds. So this is independent of the general fund. When you look at the top up here, this is our revenues that we're looking at. And primarily, this is our real property tax. We have the tax chargeback and all our revenues associated with tax. Ultimately, that comes down to this area down here, the $1.1 million, and our estimated total revenue. So moving on to where their expenses are, we start off with the municipal street fund. This is otherwise known as our road millage fund. This is unique. Our road millage was passed in 2014. It was a 10-year millage in which we bonded for projects up front. So while we collect payments through our tax service for this, ultimately the majority of the projects were done up front, and we are subsequently making bond payments on that. So while you see a negative number in here, that doesn't correlate to a bad thing. This money was earmarked to spend on projects, so the negative net of revenues and appropriations simply means that we're spending more than we're taking in, but the ultimate end game is to complete the project with a zero balance at the end. So this is actually, it's on track, it's as we expected. If anything, we're still exceeding it because you see our road millage fund at the end of this current year is still expected to be over $1 million. So we do have a few more projects in queue for the remainder of the millage. It expires for year 7 of the road millage. So we have 3 years left of that. Let me jump down here. Please interrupt me if you have any questions. I'm going to keep scrolling.
Yeah, Bob.
Yeah.
I do have a question.
Sure.
At the top of the page, you have the 21-22 manager recommended budget. Go to the right a little farther. Yep. That's really the discussion that we're having for this year's budget. The one that follows that is the following year, right?
Yes, and you're not actually going to approve the 22 to 23 manager recommended budget. We use that as a placeholder just in case there's an anomaly this year. So we can say, but look, next year it's expected to do this or that. Even when we go to approve the budget, we only approve 1 year at a time. This is just an effort to provide additional information to all those involved in that. So the next item we have is Fund T12, which is our liquor law enforcement. Liquor law enforcement comes from the state of Michigan. Generally speaking, this money is earmarked for any sort of activity related to liquor license fees or liquor license enforcement. Now, historically, we used to have a contract with the Livingston County Sheriff's Department, and this basically these funds actually subsidize that and help offset the cost of that. Since we don't have a contract, the revenue still continues to come in, and we have a little bit of expenses. If our ordinance officer were to go out, he chose his time accordingly, and it gets funded out of here. But ultimately, you can see we have a net fund balance of approximately $61,000 projected at the end of this year. And Bill, I don't know if this is where you wanted to jump in. I know you had some new information on this.
Yeah, just a couple things. The funds for this department actually come from the licensees. So if you have a license from the state of Michigan, you pay, depends on what kind of license you have. But if you have like a Class C, it's around $1,200 a year. If you want to have Sunday sales, there's an additional fee on top of that. So these funds are actually being paid for by the licensee, and then these funds are used for the constable or our zoning enforcement officer will actually come out and visit those facilities once a month, and they go through and they walk around and make sure that there's not something bad happening or gambling or those types of things. a lot of times you'll see in the paper where they do what's called a sting operation, where they come in and try to set up a business, maybe not set them up, but they try to have an underage individual purchase, and then they can either give a ticket or a warning, whatever's appropriate by the law enforcement officer. I reached out to Mike Murphy last year, and as opposed to trying to set our local businesses up for a sting, Mike has offered to be a facilitator for a couple different times. So if you have a bartender or a staff that actually serves, Sheriff Murphy thought he would come in, could come in and give us some of our businesses a training session on what they look for and what we could do to be better stewards and care of our people who are trying to manipulate. I think a lot of times this probably happens more like at a like a carry-out type of facility versus a sit-down. However, it can happen, I think, just about anywhere. And Mike's all for that. And as soon as this clears, so we can have those in-house trainings, I think that's a different approach that's very positive. And having tried to train people a lot of different times on the importance of this, having a police officer give that presentation, I think could carry a lot more weight with our staff and show them the seriousness of what we are, our responsibilities are, having those liquor licenses and serving appropriately. So I just wanted to give everybody just a little feedback of kind of where those dollars come from and what they also can be spent on.
Thanks, Bill. Yeah, furthermore, and again, we know food protection at some point in time is going to be back on the township radar. Although don't have an exact date, these liquor licensing fees would certainly help offset the sheriff costs if we ever decide to go back to a contract or whatever we decide to do in the future with police protection. So, moving on to Fund 354, this is the 2009 N59 Road Improvements Bond. This was part of the Ramco Garrison Shopping Center. All the road rehab work that had to be done, the redesign and reconstruction. This is basically funded by the businesses that were assessed in that area. And ultimately, this was a 25-year bond at the time it was done. Set to expire in 2034. In 2019, the township refunded some bonds at a significant cost savings to the users who are impacted by this fee. So, but again, you'll see the refund is over here. It shows a little bit of a negative. This is actually a good story because we were able to give that money back to the people who are assessed for this process, the businesses, I should say. Ultimately, the fund balance is projected to be at $460,000, and again, it expires in 2034. And you're going to see in a lot of these funds for the remainder of the presentation are going to be basically some sort of an infrastructure improvement that somebody has petitioned to the township for. This is reported on our books as debt. However, this is user-based, and the residents in the roads basically signed up and petitioned to the township to have their roads redone. And we finance it because we can act as a fiduciary for it. Kind of as an example here, we have the Mill Point Road Debt Service Fund. So the Mill Point residents petitioned for the township to have their private roads redone. Now, the Livingston County Road Commission was not able to help because they are private roads. The township stepped in. We were able to engineer and redo their roads, and we financed that over a course of 10 years. Generally speaking, most road millages are for a duration of, or I should say residential road millages are for a duration of 10 years if they're built to the Livingston County Road Commission specifications. This is one of those cases. And what's kind of unusual is you see we bonded for the projects up front, which means we had an influx of cash in the beginning. So as we paid the contractor and now we receive payments, it appears like it's a a difference or in accounting principles, perhaps a loss, but this is not actually the case. What this is potentially somebody paying off their assessment early. This is also the revenue has to be shown in the year that it was actually collected. So the year that somebody actually pays their tax bill is when we have to show the revenue. And in turn, the bond payment shows as the expense, if you will, has to be recorded the budget year in which it was paid out. What happens is those don't always align. If somebody pays their taxes late, obviously April 1st is kind of a threshold, and some of the payments that correspond to other payments they overlap. So these numbers don't always add up. In the grand scheme of things, it's a wash because if it's not recognized in the prior year, it'll be recognized in the following year. But again, our fund balance in order to continue making the bond payments is $234,000, and we're in good shape with that project. Moving forward to the Boulder Lake Woods Road SAD, very similar to the Mill Point. The difference was this was a Livingston County road itself. So Livingston County actually helps us out with this, and they help subsidize, they pay for all the engineering and design and project management. But again, this project this one was not bonded for because of the low cost. And by low, I mean somewhere in the neighborhood of $200,000 or less. The township generally will decide if it makes sense to finance this internally. In this particular case, we did finance this project internally, which means it comes out of our 401 fund or our fund balance, if you will, and then the residents pay the township back. This works out to be a pretty good deal for them, and they eliminate any additional bonding expenses because the act of bonding itself does have costs associated with it. So this project was just completed last year, so they basically have 9 more years to pay on this. We're in good shape on this particular project. And then we have the 577 fund, which is our cable TV fund. Now, this you might remember seeing a very similar fund in the general fund because our franchise fees are actually broken out into 2 different components. One is the actual franchise fee, which is unrestricted cash. That basically can be spent on anything that we choose or the township chooses. That gets recorded as revenue in the general fund. And generally that's about $135,000, and it always depends on the number of customers, so it will fluctuate. The balance of that comes into this particular fund known as the PEG fund, which is Public Education and Government. Now these funds are restricted, which means they have specific uses that they qualify for, but that does not mean that the township can use these funds for whatever we choose. It is strictly used for public education, and that's what basically funds all our cable TV channels, our streaming services for movies, and quite frankly, this is the fund that will assist, or not assist, it's going to make possible the fiber optic internet connection that we spoke about at the last meeting. So again, you'll see a ending fund balance of approximately $131,000. We've had this money basically sits in an account, so we decided to do a project. Generally, the projects of bigger nature exceed what we would pull in for the year, but ultimately you'll see we go a couple years at a time without actually spending any of these funds. So we still have a significant fund balance and still project, is actually projected to be a slight increase with so many people working from home. The people who used to be on the let's cut the cable theory have now kind of reconnected if they were forced to work from home. So it's again a good story there. We had no deficiencies, but when you see these, that's because that particular year we actually spent more money than we took in because we pool the money and then do fairly large infrastructure projects within the hall. And then this is just a summary at the bottom of basically all the funds we just went through. The net of revenues and appropriations, obviously they're all red. that doesn't necessarily paint a bad story. There's many different factors in that, including something like the road millage, where yes, you want to spend the money and ultimately you want to complete projects which will show a lower fund balance. Additionally, you can see the anomalies with the PEG fund up here that get incorporated to that. All in all, our ending fund balance is projected at $1.9 million in our other governmental funds at the end of next fiscal year. These are projections. This is a draft budget. So we went through that kind of quick, but I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that anybody may have regarding any of those funds. Seeing none, I guess I'll turn it back over to you, Supervisor Fountain, and I thank you for the opportunity to present it.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks for helping explain some of those anomalies too. At this point, we're at the portion of our meeting, but maybe Bob, let's just chat a little bit. I know we're with this COVID thing, we're kind of off track maybe a little bit on our budget discussions, but what's going to be happening next?
So what you were going to see next is the next meeting we're projecting to present the water and sewer budget. And ultimately, I should say, that's contingent upon us meeting in person. The first meeting that we're allowed to meet in person, I would really like to get Chief Carroll in to go over the fire fund budget and as well as the CIP. Both of those discussions, I think, it would behoove this group to do in person. I think it'll be especially challenging to continually share different slides of the CIP projects and whatnot. But ultimately, the remaining funds to go over are the water and sewer funds, and then the fire fund and the capital improvement fund. Now, I would argue the capital improvement fund is actually quite enjoyable. Those are usually fun projects, and a lot of it's been planned already. So that's a more enjoyable discussion. The water and sewer will be pretty brief. There's not a whole lot of changes here because we're at the end of our both the sewer rate and the water rate study. Both of those will be reconvened in 2021. So we're adhering to the rates as they were set forth before. The water was 5 years, the sewer was 7 years. So we didn't project any changes. The actual water and sewer rates have already been adopted. But it is on our radar moving forward to look at those throughout the 2021 year. But as far as presenting that material to you, it's pretty straightforward. We have our revenues and expenses. There's nothing unusual. I will say on the water side of things, the state continues to issue mandates for more and more testing. And part of that's because it seems like every year there's a new chemical they find in the water, whether it be lead or PFAS, whatever. They now make all water systems test for that. So you will see a slight increase in testing fees. But in the grand scheme of the overall budget, there's nothing surprising. These are as expected, and everything has been on track. Our reserve and replacements are right on target. I think the bigger story to tell in 2021 will be what are we going to do with the sewer rates, and I think we're headed in the right direction as far as investing. I can't say necessarily where we're at. It's still early, but I think there's some opportunities to do stuff in the future in 2021. So, and again, the CIP it's been a living document. The projects that are on the CIP, there's not a whole lot that's new. A lot of it is maintenance items. And other than that, the same projects that we've had, we generally try and keep the CIP out for those of you that don't recall, 2 to 3 years out in advance. So we know what's on the horizon and what's kind of in queue. These projects generally can't happen overnight. In fact, a lot of the capital improvement projects, we do the planning and design in 1 year, and then we execute them actual construction in the second year. And that's kind of where we're at with this N59 sidewalk. Is we designed it. We were able to obtain the sidewalk easements needed along N59. So we're already halfway there. It's a question of, we planned on doing construction in 2020. We just never got around to it because of the COVID situation. We decided, hey, we don't know what state shared revenue is going to do. Let's put a pin in our capital projects for now, ride this wave out, which we've done. State shared revenue has exceeded the early projection, and honestly, we're not going to really be affected by it. Our algorithm doesn't rely on it, the state shared revenue, as much as other communities may. So that's not to say just because Heartland Township's not impacted that other communities won't be impacted. Just rather that we are a little bit more conservative in the fact that we don't rely as much or as heavily in our how our state shared revenue is calculated. So all in all, looking back on 2020 from a financial standpoint, I think we did very well. Given the circumstances, it would have been nice to do some more projects, but I certainly, if I had to go back again, knowing what we did at the time, I think we made the right choice to put a pin in it. So what we're looking to do is potentially pull the pin out of the sidewalk, because that was planned, and try and get on somebody's list for this year. Like I say, they're already filling up. I don't look to rush a project by any means, but we're now 2 years in sitting on the design of this project and it's ready to go. So, and for those of you that are not aware, that'll be our first connector, basically to the edge of San Marino. There's a neighborhood called Thrillers Grove. We take that sidewalk and essentially bring it all the way down to the Speedway gas station at Old 23. That would be our first complete connector in one of the 4 quadrants. So that would be the southwest quadrant. So been on a lot of residents' wish lists when we talk about pathways. So that's kind of where we're at on that. So we're going to do some homework on that, work with HRC, and try and get that project out. But we'll review it with you. Obviously, we wouldn't bring a contract to you without prior authorization. Just want to kind of bring you up to speed where we're at.
Just a little bit of a background on the sidewalks and the importance to them. When we did the Gibbs study, I think, gosh, maybe even going on 5 years ago now, but they do a rating based on walkability in your community. And for young families and such, those that have a walkability of like 85 and higher are deemed kind of user-friendly for people who want to walk and bike. And if I remember, Heartland's score was quite low. It might have been even below 40 or 35 or something. So that was one of the things that when we put the road improvement plan together, walkability was a big part of that. So we have been putting resources to those areas to connect the village to 59 and some of these other areas. So yeah, we've been talking about this for quite a few years. Bob, I think we might have to go back to the general fund. It seems like we kind of went over that quickly. Maybe it wasn't quick. Maybe everybody's comfortable with it. That was at our first meeting, because I think the first time we brought that out was right. It might have been our December meeting. I don't even remember when we brought that out now, but we might want to just go through that a little bit, or if people have questions on it and have that opportunity.
And certainly that was the plan. We were going to present that at the first meeting that we can meet in person with Adam Carroll. That one's a little bit more detailed. I want to be able to explain it a little bit better. If you guys are okay with that, that would be my recommendation, is we do those two together on the same night.
I think that makes a lot of sense to me. And I again, it's a lot easier to have discussions when we can all be in the same spot. So it seems like I've kind of overstayed my welcome tonight on this meeting. I've said an awful lot of things. Any other questions this evening for any of the trustees?
You know, if I could make a quick comment, I want to say thank you to all the board members here who have reached out in advance. This is a very challenging budget year due to the virtual circumstance. But many of you have reached out with your questions ahead of time. You've taken the time to do your due diligence. And just thank you for that. It's very challenging. It makes it much more efficient when we're able to vet these kind of questions and go through it and answer questions ahead of time. And I just appreciate your homework on that this year.
Thanks, Bob. Again, does anybody else have anything for this evening? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Or,
I had a motion by trustee Jermaine, second by trustee. Patrice. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, everybody. Have a safe evening.
Thank you.